My name is Daniel, and if there is one thing life has repeatedly taught me, it is that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who quietly turn your success into something they believe they own. I grew up in a family where love always existed, but it was never balanced. My parents always made it clear who the special one was. My sister Emily, the golden child, the one who was always protected, the one who was always excused, the one who always came first. And me, I was the responsible one, the strong one, the one expected to sacrifice, stay silent, and understand every single time. For years, I worked harder than I ever thought a human could. I worked morning shifts, evening shifts, and sometimes both. I skipped vacations, ignored friends, stayed awake countless nights, and every single time my body begged me to rest, I reminded myself that I had a dream to reach. That dream was simple, a house of my own. Not just a building, not just walls and a roof, but a place where I could finally breathe, where I wouldn't feel like I was constantly living under someone else's expectations. A place that represented my effort, my pain, and my victory. After years of sacrifices, I finally did it. I bought my house. The day I opened the door for the first time, I stood inside silently and just looked around. No one else was there. No noise. No chaos. Just peace. I remember running my hand across the wall and whispering to myself, "This is mine. I finally did it." That house wasn't just bricks and cement. It was every drop of sweat, every sleepless night, every moment of stress that I survived. For the first time in my life, I felt independent. I felt respected. I felt like I had finally achieved something that belonged only to me. But in my family, nothing ever truly belongs to you. At first, my parents acted proud. They told relatives, they bragged about my success, they told people I was doing well. But slowly, things started changing. Instead of seeing my house as my achievement, they began acting like it was some kind of family asset. My parents started coming over without calling. Emily started treating my house like a weekend hotel. She would show up anytime, sometimes even with her friends, acting like it was normal. And every time I questioned it, every time I tried to talk about boundaries, my parents would respond with the same old sentences. "Daniel, don't be so strict. Emily is just comfortable around you. She needs support. She's your sister. You're her brother. You should understand." Not once did anyone ask if I was comfortable. Not once did anyone care if I wanted privacy. Not once did anyone think maybe I deserved respect after everything I did. And slowly, I began realizing something painful. In their eyes, I wasn't an independent adult with my own life. I was just Emily's brother. The backup plan. The support system. The safety net. Then one evening, everything truly changed. I came home from work tired, my head pounding. All I wanted was to shower, eat, and rest. When I opened the door, my parents were already inside. They were smiling way too much, speaking overly sweet, acting extra nice. And if you grow up in a family like mine, you know exactly what that means. They wanted something. They sat me down, pretending like this was a normal family conversation, and then very casually they dropped it. "Daniel, we gave Emily a copy of your house keys. She'll stay here whenever she needs. It will be good for her. She needs a peaceful place." Just like that. They didn't ask. They didn't discuss. They didn't care how I felt. They had already decided. Emily was standing there too, arms crossed, with this confident half-smile on her face. Not thankful. Not respectful. Just entitled. Like this was something she naturally deserved. Like everything I owned automatically belonged to her too. My parents continued explaining like they were doing something kind and reasonable, completely ignoring the shock on my face. To them, this wasn't wrong. To them, it made sense. Because in their minds, no matter what I achieved, it would always be family property first. In that moment, something inside me broke, but something else awakened. I looked at my parents, talking as if they had control over my life. I looked at Emily, standing there proudly, as if she had won something. And for the first time in my life, Instead of staying silent, instead of accepting it, instead of convincing myself to understand again. I didn't feel weak. I didn't feel guilty. I felt angry. Not loud anger. Not shouting anger. A deep, quiet anger that comes when someone repeatedly disrespects you and thinks they can get away with it forever. But here's the part that makes everything truly unbelievable. They thought they controlled my house. They thought they still had power over my decisions. They thought they could use me forever. But they didn't know. They were already 2 weeks too late. Because the house they were proudly giving Emily access to wasn't mine anymore. I had already sold it, and absolutely no one knew. When people hear that I sold my house, they usually think it was a sudden emotional decision, like I woke up one morning angry and decided to get rid of everything. But the truth is, it didn't start as revenge. It started as survival. From the day I bought that house, something slowly changed inside me. I expected peace, but instead, I found myself constantly stressed, constantly worried, constantly feeling like I wasn't living in my own home. Emily would walk in without asking, leave whenever she wanted, and behave like the place belonged to her. Sometimes she'd bring friends over. Sometimes she'd stay for days. My house no longer felt like a home. It felt like a public space with my name on it. And every time I tried to talk about it, every time I tried to set boundaries, my parents acted like I was being dramatic or unreasonable. They never saw the problem because it didn't affect them. It only affected me. There was one day that truly broke me. I had just finished one of the hardest weeks of my life at work. I was exhausted to the point where my vision was blurry. I remember unlocking the door hoping to finally collapse on my bed, but when I walked in, my living room looked like it had survived a storm. Loud music was playing, people I didn't even know were sitting on my couch, laughing, drinking, and treating my place like some party rental house. Emily was there too, dancing and smiling like everything was normal. I stood there silently, staring, waiting for someone to notice that I was home. When Emily finally saw me, she didn't look guilty. She didn't apologize. She didn't even look surprised. She just rolled her eyes and said, "Relax, Daniel. Don't be boring. It's just one night." One night. That one night was my mental peace. That one night was my space. That one night was my life. But to her, it meant nothing. Later that night, after everyone left, I sat alone in my own house and felt like a stranger. I looked around at the mess. Broken glass. Stains. Food on the floor. Silence replacing the chaos, but the echo of disrespect still ringing loud. And I remember thinking, this is supposed to be my safe place. Why do I feel like I don't belong here? It wasn't just about Emily anymore. It was about my parents always siding with her, always expecting me to sacrifice without ever acknowledging what it cost me. I realized I had built a beautiful house, but emotionally, I was still trapped inside the same family cycle of favoritism and entitlement. That was the night something inside me changed permanently. Not in anger, not in rage, but in clarity. I finally accepted a truth I had been avoiding for years. If I wanted peace, I couldn't wait for them to respect me. I had to respect myself first. So, I made a decision quietly. No announcement. No warning. No drama. One morning, I listed the house for sale. And honestly, the speed at which it sold shocked even me. Within days, I had serious buyers. Within a week, the papers were signed. Within days after that, the house legally wasn't mine anymore. The funny thing is, when something belongs to you, people feel comfortable abusing it. But the moment it belongs to someone else, everyone suddenly learns respect. The new owner was a calm, good person who understood when I explained I needed a little time before moving to another city for a better job opportunity. He allowed me to stay temporarily. I paid him. I followed rules. And ironically, for the first time in a long time, I felt safe in the house, not because of family, but because now clear boundaries existed. And while all this happened, do you know what my family was doing? Being exactly the same. My parents continued treating my house like theirs. Emily continued acting like some princess of a kingdom she didn't build. None of them had the slightest idea that every time Emily walked in confidently, laughing, acting entitled. She wasn't walking into my house anymore. She was walking into a stranger's property. A stranger who, at any time, could legally throw her out. That thought alone should have terrified them, but they had no idea. They never imagined I would do something like that. Because they were so used to me being the calm one, the understanding one, the one who always adjusted. They forgot calm people only stay silent until they break. And when they finally break, they don't scream. They don't argue. They simply remove themselves. During those 2 weeks after selling the house, I watched everything differently. Every time my parents talked to me like they had authority over my decisions, I stayed quiet. Every time Emily acted like she owned my space, I stayed quiet. Not because I was weak, but because for once I had power they didn't know about. For once, I wasn't the unprotected one. And more importantly, for once, I wasn't the one who would end up losing something. They had spent years believing I would always accept whatever they said. They didn't realize that patience is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Sometimes it is preparation. People think revenge is loud. They think it involves shouting, screaming, arguing, fighting. But real revenge, real justice is silent. It's when the person who always got used finally stops allowing it. It's when the person who always understood finally decides, no more. I wasn't trying to humiliate them. I wasn't trying to hurt them. I just wanted my life back. I wanted to breathe without feeling like everything I owned belonged to everyone except me. I wanted peace, and I knew they would never give it. So I chose to take it myself. By the time those 2 weeks passed, everything was already done. The papers were signed. The house was legally gone. My move to another city was planned. My future was ready. My emotions were calm. And the best part? They still had no clue. My parents still believed they controlled the situation. Emily still believed she now had authority over my house. They didn't realize everything they were standing proudly on was already gone beneath their feet. They didn't realize they were walking confidently towards a moment that would shatter their illusion of control completely. The day they proudly handed Emily that house key and declared that she could now enter and stay whenever she wanted, they thought they had made another decision for my life. They thought they had won again. They had no idea that the decision was never theirs to make anymore. They had no idea that while they were busy controlling my life, I had already taken it back. 2 weeks later came the day that would change everything. It was a quiet morning, one of those peaceful mornings where the air feels calm, but your heart somehow knows a storm is coming. I was packing some of my things, preparing steadily for my move to another city. My life was already taking a new direction, but my family still believed everything was under their control. They didn't know that every word they spoke with confidence, every plan they made with authority, was standing on a lie they didn't even know existed. I had no intention of creating drama. I wasn't planning some big confrontation. Honestly, I just wanted to leave silently and let life teach them the lesson I could never explain with words. But fate has a way of arranging moments perfectly. Later that day, Emily arrived with a rolling suitcase, sunglasses on her head, headphones around her neck, acting like she was walking into her private vacation home. My parents came too, smiling proudly, like they had done something intelligent and meaningful for her life. They were excited, relaxed, comfortable, and the reason was simple. They believed they were in control. My mother hugged Emily and told her how lucky she was to have such a caring brother. My father stood with that confident look he always had, the expression of someone who believed his decisions were unquestionable. And me? I didn't say much. I stood calmly, observing everything like a silent witness waiting for the truth to reveal itself. Emily walked up to the door like she owned the place. There was no hesitation, no respect, not even a glance toward me for permission. She confidently inserted the key into the lock and twisted it. And that's when the first crack appeared in their perfect illusion. The key didn't turn. Emily frowned slightly, confused. She tried again, harder this time. Still nothing. Her expression changed from relaxed confidence to slight irritation. She tried again and again, her movements becoming faster, more frustrated each time. My parents stepped closer, confused now too. My mother asked nervously, "Why isn't it opening?" My father insisted, "You're doing it wrong. Try again." Emily snapped, "I am trying." She rattled the handle harder, as if her entitlement alone should force the door to open. That was when reality finally began to whisper to them. Something was wrong. They turned toward me, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't the one panicking. I wasn't the one explaining. I wasn't the one feeling powerless. I was calm, silent, watching. Before any of us could say more, the door suddenly opened from the inside. But it wasn't me standing there. It was the new owner. Emily froze mid-sentence. My mother gasped. My father went completely silent. The man looked at them with polite confusion. "Can I help you?" he asked calmly. Those 5 words hit like thunder. Emily blinked rapidly, struggling to process reality. This is my brother's house," she stuttered. "We're trying to get in." The new owner shook his head gently. "No, this is my house. I bought it 3 weeks ago." Silence. Heavy, crushing silence. The kind of silence where the world stops moving and all illusions collapse at once. My mother's expression crumbled. My father's confidence shattered instantly. Emily looked like her entire world had been snatched right out of her hands. They all slowly turned toward me, their faces pale, their pride destroyed. My father's voice, for the first time in my life, wasn't commanding. It was shaky. "Daniel, what is he talking about?" My mother whispered, "You sold the house?" Emily's voice broke into pure disbelief. "You can't be serious. Tell him it's a mistake. Tell him. This is your house." And that's when I finally spoke. Not loudly, not angrily, just calmly. "It was my house," I said, "until 2 weeks ago." I explained how I had sold it, how the papers were signed, how the house legally no longer belonged to me, how their decisions, their control, their entitlement meant nothing here anymore. With every word I spoke, I could see reality hitting them harder. My parents didn't know what to say. Emily looked betrayed, not because she lost a place to stay, but because she lost control. She exploded next. "How could you do this? How could you sell the house without telling us? You knew I needed this place." That was the moment years of suppressed pain finally reached the surface, but instead of anger, there was truth. I looked straight at her and said, "That's exactly the problem. You believe everything I work for exists because you need it, because you want it, because you feel entitled to it. You never asked. You never respected. You never once thought maybe I needed peace more than you needed convenience." My parents tried to defend themselves like they always did. My mother insisted, "We only wanted what was best for your sister." My father added, "You shouldn't have done this without talking to us." And I replied with something I had wanted to say for years. "No. You shouldn't have made decisions about my life without talking to me. You shouldn't have treated my house like community property. You shouldn't have assumed your authority mattered more than my ownership. I earned this. I built this life. And you all treated it like a tool for Emily's comfort." For the first time ever, they had no response. No excuses. No lectures. Just silence. Reality had humbled them in a way my words never could. The new owner, still being incredibly polite, kindly told them they needed to leave because this property was no longer theirs to stand in front of like they controlled it. And just like that, the power balance shifted for the first time in my life. I wasn't the one being forced out. I wasn't the one feeling small. They were. Emily stormed off crying. My parents walked away slowly, stunned. Their pride cracked open. And as they left, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel evil. I didn't feel victory like some villain winning a war. I felt something simpler, something softer, something I had been craving for years. I felt relief. For once, I wasn't the one who lost something. For once, they faced consequences for treating me like I didn't matter. That day wasn't about revenge. It was about truth revealing itself. It was the day my family finally understood that I wasn't their backup plan, their solution, their everlasting sacrifice. I was a human being who had reached his limit. And for the first time in my life, my silence spoke louder than any argument ever could. I stood there in that empty house, surrounded by silence, and realized something important. This wasn't just about a building, walls, or a set of keys. This was about respect, boundaries, and finally choosing myself after years of being treated like I didn't matter. Emily kept crying, insisting that I had ruined everything, that I should feel guilty because family shares everything. My parents tried to emotionally manipulate me the same way they always did, saying I had embarrassed them and betrayed their trust. But this time, I didn't let their words control me. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel scared, weak, or guilty. I felt free. I calmly told them that family doesn't mean ownership over someone's life, and love isn't a license to disrespect someone's hard work. I reminded them that they never asked what I wanted. They never supported my dreams. They only remembered me when they needed something from me. And if they truly believed family should share everything, then why had everything always been about Emily? Why was I always expected to sacrifice, but she never had to give up anything? They didn't have an answer. My father lowered his eyes. My mother looked shocked, maybe because it was the first time I had ever spoken openly like this. Emily, for once, had nothing to say. The proud, spoiled princess suddenly looked powerless because her entitlement didn't work anymore. After that day, I cut contact for a while. Not out of hatred, but to heal myself. I moved into my new home, one that was truly mine in every way. No hidden expectations, no forced obligations, no one trying to take control of it. Just peace. And in that peace, I discovered something I never had before, the courage to live for myself. Weeks later, my parents reached out. Their tone had changed completely. No arrogance. No demands. Just quiet voices asking if we could talk. When we finally met, my father apologized. Not perfectly, not dramatically, but in his own struggling way. My mother admitted she had been unfair. She even confessed that deep down, she never realized how much pressure they always put on me. And Emily, well, she didn't become an angel overnight, but life had finally taught her that not everything in this world belongs to her simply because she wants it. She learned that respect is not something you demand. It's something you earn. Our relationship didn't magically become perfect after that. There were still scars, still memories, still things that couldn't be erased. But there was something new too. Boundaries. They finally understood that my life belongs to me. My achievements are mine. My choices are mine. And the house I sold, it wasn't a loss. It was a turning point. It was the moment I finally chose my self-respect over silent suffering. Today, when I look back, I don't feel regret. I feel proud. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop being the good, obedient, sacrificing one and finally stand up for yourself. Sometimes you have to lose something to gain everything. And I gained my voice, my independence, and a life where I am no longer living under someone else's control. And honestly, that is worth far more than any house.